and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be walking you through how I am planning my next Animal Crossing island. This will be my third island, and I feel like I've learned quite a bit about planning the island every single time that I finish one, and so hopefully this can give you a place to start. So step one is just to get inspired. So I tend to do a lot of thinking before I even start looking on the internet for ideas about what I kind of want to do. But the first place that I'll start looking is Pinterest. I feel like Pinterest has so many ideas. I just think it's a great place to start. So I know that I want Chestnut to have an autumnal vibe, so I've just searched Animal Crossing fall design on Pinterest, and I automatically get lots of pictures of fall islands, as well as lots of custom designs. If you're looking for codes on Pinterest, I do have a page under Fox Grove if you wanted to check that out. The next place that I'll go to get inspiration is I look on Reddit. And one of the places that I'll search on Reddit is ACNH Custom Designs. Honestly, just looking at the custom design codes sometimes can really help me to figure out what I want to do. And the last place that I will look is Instagram and Twitter. I kind of search this all the time since I'm on these platforms quite often, but I think that Instagram is a great place to see some other really inspiring creators. And then I would say that step 1.5 sort of is to just download the custom designs that you think you're going to use. So I actually created a Pinterest page. It's actually just a private page for me where I saved every single code that I thought I might want to use on Chestnut, and then I took some time to download them all so that they will be ready to go when I start decorating. And then, sorry to interrupt this plan with me, but I had to include Antonio teaching me how to sneeze. I just thought that it was very on brand living through a pandemic, and he also mentions that he's not contagious, and I'm like, excuse me, super sketchy, Antonio. So my second step is just to flatten the island. This is by far the most tedious step in the process and definitely my least favorite. I've actually already flattened Chestnut, so I built this tiny little cliff just to kind of give you something to look at. But flattening is super tedious. I always like to have something on in the background, like a show or a movie. I listen to YouTube a lot, or maybe someone's live stream, and I always make sure that I have something yummy to drink and a little snack to eat, and I take lots of breaks because I do feel like terraforming or flattening is really not very much fun. But I do feel like it's incredibly worth it because then you don't have anything in your way when you start your decorations. And if you have lots of terraforming to tear down before you can start designing an area, it could make you feel really unmotivated to start it in the first place because it feels like you have tons of work to do before you can get to the fun part. So by just kind of prioritizing flattening from the get-go, I feel like it sets me up for success later and makes me feel like I can be so much more creative without any of the existing terraforming in my way. The third step that I take is I actually lay out every single custom design that I think I'm going to use on the island, and I just plop it down somewhere on the island. You can see I've thrown it near the entrance here, and the reason why I like to do this is because it makes it really easy to see what custom designs are not going to work together. So in this case, I actually had a path, this brick path that I have now. There was actually something different that I'd had before, and once I laid out all of the designs, I noticed that the color tones of that first path just weren't really working with the rest of the tones that I have going on. And so then before I even start decorating, I can go back and search for something that works a little bit better. I will also lay out any flowers or fencing and just a few items that I'm thinking about incorporating on the island, and being able to see how all of these work together before I start decorating an area is so helpful. Like, I can already tell that the red mum just doesn't necessarily flow with the general vibe that I'm going for here, and so I'm able to switch that out before I start planting it all over the island, and it seems a lot easier to do so from the get-go than after I've decorated a whole area. The next thing that I do is I hunt for villagers. Although I don't mean going to Nook Mile Islands and physically hunting for them, I will look online for all of the villagers in the game and their house exteriors, and I will make a little layout for myself of all of the villagers that I want to have on the island. So in this case, I made a little PowerPoint thing for you guys to see the villagers that I want to have on Chestnut. I don't always make it look pretty like this. Typically, I will just write their names in a little note on my phone, and it just gives me me an idea of how everyone's house is going to look together and how it's going to fit in with the aesthetic of the island. And it gives me a better idea of who I'm hunting for before I start going to Nook Mile Islands. The last step in the process for me is to design the entrance. I always start with my island entrance first because it helps me to set the tone for how the rest of the theme on the island is going to look. And I do want to mention that you don't have to have a particular theme. This could just be a general vibe or aesthetic that you're going for on the island. And your island aesthetic can totally change as you continue decorating. It's totally valid to not have an aesthetic. But if you are going for a theme or you are going for a certain vibe, starting with the entrance can be a great way to set the tone for how you want everything else to look, and it also helps me to set up how I want my island to flow for visitors from the get-go. I do think that this gives me a chance to edit anything that I really don't like before I start sporadically decorating little sections on the island. If I make those design changes later, it tends to be a little bit more time consuming and affects how motivated I feel to decorate in the game. So starting with the entrance really does help me to feel really inspired. Typically after finishing an entrance build, I'm really excited and ideas are flowing. And it gets me thinking about how the entrance is going to connect to future areas on the island, and it makes me feel super excited to keep decorating. But that is going to wrap up how I am planning my next Animal Crossing island. I do want to say that this is just my personal process. It's not the process, and it's totally valid to not plan at all and to just go with the flow. But if you're struggling with starting your next island, I hope this will give you some inspiration or just a place to start as you're decorating. I can't sign off this video without mentioning how cute Kiki and Dom are in the background enjoying a little KK concert. They are so adorable. I will say that I hate all of the sheep villagers, but Dom has definitely grown on me. I can see why everyone loves him so much. And of course, Kiki is just my favorite ever. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If you liked it and you like Animal Crossing content, please do be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to support me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!